Hello, everyone, and welcome to That Deacon on YouTube. Typically, in the month of June, we see a large crop of ordinations across the Episcopal Church. You might see any numbers of invitations, as seminarians who have passed their canonical exams are ordained into the Sacred Order of Deacons, or maybe better yet, the term might be the Sacred Order of Transitional Deacons. Then, in 6 months' time, usually in January, these newly minted deacons will participate in another rite to become priests. A 6 months deacon and then a priest. And the sponsoring parish throws a lavish feast. Huzzah! But wait, are they really deacons? When people from a sponsoring parish see an invitation to a diaconal ordination, they might say, "I thought Ellen from our church was going to be a priest." And then there might be a new deacon starting a ministry at a church, and people may ask, "So, when are you going to be ordained a priest?" Confucius has been credited with saying, "If names are not correct, language will not be in accordance with the truth of things." Names are indeed important because they are attached to our being. Names sometimes precede the reality of the person carrying it. For example, if I say Bono, a reality is automatically assigned and recognized. And there are many people addressed by a mononym, such as Socrates, all the way to Madonna. But what of the lowly deacon? In the wider church, ever since the reestablishment of the Diaconate beginning in 1964, there has been confusion surrounding deacons as it pertains to their name and how a name affects the orbit of ministry. On the books, we have 4 orders of ministry, 3 of them ordained. We have bishop, priest, deacon, and laity. In reality, we have 7 orders of ministry: bishop, priest, deacon, transitional deacon, vocational deacon, permanent deacon, and laity. If names are not correct, language will not be in accordance with the truth of things. So why do we have this muddle? How did all this happen? Why is the oldest institution of biblically verified orders of the church shrouded with this stigma of confusion? I can only share my opinion for what it's worth, but share it I shall. Clericalism, or clerical narcissism within the church and laity, sometimes supports a hierarchical view of ordained clergy, as seen in the idea of a chain of command, and that one order is holier than the other. As clericalism pertains to the deacon, transitional, vocational, permanent diaconate, I believe clericalism is partly to blame, along with the medieval notion of hierarchy as a byproduct of feudalism, where all of society had different levels of importance. Just a reminder, if you find these videos interesting and informative, I hope you give them a thumbs up. and if you feel so moved, sharing them on other platforms. I hope you consider becoming a subscriber, and then by clicking on the bell icon, you'll be informed when a new video is available. Around the 6th century, about 300 years after Christianity became established as the religion of empire, a rift took place between deacons and priests. Before this, overseers of the church, the episcopos, better known as bishops, worked closely with deacons who eventually became their administrators. As the church became more and more powerful, deacons ran the daily duties for the bishop and oftentimes were the ones who appointed priests to various early churches. It was during this time that many deacons were elected as bishops, as they knew how to oversee aspects of church life and finances. When Rome was able to establish itself as the center for the wider church, many early popes were once archdeacons, not priests. As time moved on, and as Eucharist as liturgy became more central, and as bishops began to oversee larger areas, the priestly order began to have more prominence. It's my guess that along the way, as more priests were elected bishop, that's when the downfall of the diaconate began its slow decline. The transitional diaconate arrived as a prerequisite to priesting. What became a power struggle within the church hierarchy eventually was inculcated into institutional memory and became tradition. Sometimes we must be careful with tradition. Many times a tradition is merely a palimpsest. That's a literary term for a manuscript over which layers of corrections are written on top of an existing document, leaving slight traces of the original. In other words, an institutional memory may not be an authentic memory at all, but merely a remembrance of the last time something was remembered. This is the case with the acceptance of the transitional diaconate as part of tradition. Until the 11th century, clergy was ordained to the clerical role they felt called to perform. Jesus taught that there is no hierarchy in the kingdom of God. And if the church is to proclaim this teaching, it must model this equality within the ranks of clergy. Those on the priestly path gain no spiritual or practical benefits spending 6 months as a transitional deacon. In my view, any argument to keep this practice is merely an excuse to retain a tradition based upon a clerical feud long since past. The church needs 3 full and equal orders of ministry, including the ministry of the laity. The church needs to model these full and equal orders of ministry, named priest, deacon, bishop, and laity, without confusion and without hierarchy. And maybe, just maybe, the deacon serving in your parish, who might have spent years and years in diaconal ministry, helping parishioners live out their ministry founded in the baptismal covenant, And the deacons spending years and years representing the church to the world and the world to the church may never be asked again, so when are you going to become a priest? As always, I invite your thoughts and insights in the comments section. And until next month, be well, be happy, and give a deacon a thankful hug. Bye-bye for now.